Well, there's a pull-in test. It's not the greatest. There's, I don't know, 25 cars in the back of this thing. It only has 4-wheel drive. I do have to change one of the tires because it's the original Rivarossi one. They really didn't have that much traction to begin with. And I noticed that the motor, this motor that I put in there came out of another train that I had. I had changed the motor, put the motor in there, and it may have been one of the motors that I overheated using a cheap DCC decoder. For some reason, the motors would get hot, even though it said that DCC decoders aren't supposed to affect the motors. Anyway, some motors do not take well to 14 volts sitting on the motor and constantly pulsing. Basically like when you flip a light switch on and off really fast, you blow a light bulb. So that's what a DCC decoder does. The motor sits at 14 volts basically, and it's a on and off pulse like a fuel injector, and the longer the pulse, the faster the motor goes. The shorter the pulse, slower the motor goes, but the voltage stays the same. So cheap decoders, for some reason, like the MRC decoders, they're horrible. The cheap ones, if you're not careful, they can heat a motor up. Where a digitrax one, you can go in and you can change some of the CVs, and that's what I had to do to correct that problem. So anyway, I think this motor might be damaged, and the reason being is because when there's any load, when I'm trying to pull any cars, I gotta get this thing at almost 8 volts before it moves. And like my triplex, I don't need to do that. I mean, I have different motors in the triplex, and I don't nearly need that much current to get it going. And I understand that it's geared differently and whatnot, but I shouldn't need 8 volts to get this thing moving. So, I mean, it doesn't need 8 volts when there's nothing behind it, but it needs 8 volts when there's a load on it. So, I have a 5-pole motor that's going to fit in this train. It has less RPM, but I really don't care about the speed. I just want it to be good. I thought the motor was making a ton of noise last night. Turned out that an aluminum weight that I had glued in the shell had popped free, and it was resting on the top of the motor, so that's where the noise was coming from. But anyway, I did some updates to this thing. I added ladders, flagpoles. I took the bell off. I put a light on the top of it, which actually does work. So that's 3 volts right there, and the thing started to move. So if there's any more load on it going up a hill or anything like that, it takes an awful lot of current. So I think the motor might be compromised. So I took the bell off the side, I modified it, off the front. I modified it and I put it where the bell should be on this particular engine, even though it's not prototypical. I put it there. I put a shim above the axle on the rear set of drivers. The driver was not touching the track, partially due to the section of frame that I cut off and soldered it to the front frame. I was off a microcosm. I was off a little bit as far as the height goes. So the rear wheels right here were not resting on the track. And when I pushed on the back of the locomotive, I could see that the rear wheel would touch, that it would, collapse. So I fixed that problem. So she has a lot more traction, less problems on the track. She does have some slippage. There's steel weight in there right now. I need to remove that and add lead weight. Lead weighs 3 times as much as steel. But she runs all right. I'm going to change that motor this week. I still have to add the ridges in the firebox section of the train, and I have to adapt a tender. Now I have it to Baltimore and Ohio, the round tender. It's round in the rear and square in the front with the for this particular train, the tender should be about 7 inches long, which is 7 inches long. See, that's about maybe 40 feet, 40-foot tender, possibly. I'm not sure. Anyway, the tender is longer than what you see there by about an inch. It should be. That's a big ass tender. I have an untouched one that's 6 inches long, and I probably will just use that. I gotta put wheels underneath it and connections and whatnot and make it work. And it even says Baltimore, Ohio on it, I think. So I'll probably just leave well enough alone. This particular train is probably about a half an inch longer than what the rail train would have been, due to the fact that these drivers are slightly bigger than what would have been on the train. The drivers that are on the rail train, I think, were 70 inches, 69 inches, somewhere around there. I don't know, 70 inches. These are 74, I believe. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. These would be equivalent to a 79-inch driver, I think. And what was on the rail train, I think, was 74. I'll have to check. But anyway, they're slightly bigger than what would be the correct driver. So because they're slightly bigger, the train is slightly longer. Not that anyone is really going to know, because I don't know how many people actually have one of these. An N-1 4444 duplex. As far as I know, only one company ever made the damn things. So there's not much to compare it to. And it's my railroad, and I'll build it the way I want, basically. I only built it to be different. Everybody's got a big boy, and everybody's got a Southern Pacific, a Daylight, and a Santa Fe, and I just wanted to be different. So that's why I built it. Not everybody has a triplex, and not everybody has one of these. And probably nobody's got an S1. Maybe a few people do. I know his Pep's train show, I bet he built one his own. That's what inspired that one. The Erie triplex was inspired by Harrison over at Scrumptious Model Trains. And the T1 was actually inspired by him as well. Because he had a Bowser one, and he was talking about the T1 Trust. So I looked into it, and I said, hey, I want to build one of those. And then when I had no idea how to do it, and when I saw Pap's train show, he built an S1, and I said, there we go, I think I can do that. And I didn't stop there, I built the Hiawatha as well. So, anyway, so this is the new project. Um, run a couple laps and then I'll keep you up on the update. This is what it looks like. Lights up, the headlight works. It's a little bright. I'll have to stick a resistor on there to kill it. Right now we're at 7 volts. That's decent, but when this thing starts going up a hill, this damn motor has no pulling power at all, so I think we're gonna change it. This locomotive is designed to pull passenger cars anyway. It was a high-speed locomotive. It was not designed to pull freight cars. If it was, the wheels wouldn't have been so damn big. The front wheels are still slipping a little bit. I'm gonna fix that. They didn't start slipping until I started pulling cars, so obviously the front of the train is coming up off the ground with all the weight behind it. Yeah. She's running. Anyway, please subscribe and thanks for watching. Have a good night.